Vladimir Putin is running out of options fast. The power starts slipping through his fingers. Russian economy is in so much trouble now that even government officials admit that.
It was Sunday to Sunday, and it opened up, and he hit him hard last night. No, he agreed. He kept his word on that. It's a lot. 1 week is, we'll take anything because it's really, really cold over there. But it was on Sunday, and he went from Sunday to Sunday.
Are you disappointed he didn't go further or go
Yeah,
longer?
I would like to. I want him to end the war. I spoke to him. I want him to end the war.
Mr. President.
The most dangerous sentence in European security right now is not Russia will attack. It's we don't know. For years, the public was told the threat was contained, that Russia was bogged down, that Ukraine would break the war open. That time was on Europe's side. Quietly, that language has changed. Not in speeches to voters, but in briefings, closed sessions, and defense planning timelines. And when institutions that survive on calm start whispering about danger windows, you should pay attention. This story is not about a confirmed invasion plan. It's not about leaked satellite images or a secret document stamped classified. This story is about why the tone changed, why timelines suddenly point to 2026 and 2027, and why countries with small populations and short borders are suddenly talking like history is circling back.
Russia will continue to launch speculative legal proceedings to prevent the EU from upholding international law and to pursue the legal obligation for Russia to compensate Ukraine for the damages it has caused them, putting forward solid guarantees for Belgium and also financial institutions in our proposal. But from Commission side, we are open to work further and see how to further accommodate Belgium's concerns, and this work is ongoing as we speak.
Let's start with what we can say openly. Russia has not collapsed. That alone breaks one of the central assumptions of the last 2 years. Despite sanctions that were supposed to cripple its economy, Russia adapted. Energy exports were rerouted. Trade found new paths. The ruble wobbled and recovered. Most importantly, the Russian state shifted into something far more dangerous than crisis mode. It shifted into war mode. Factories didn't shut down, they multiplied shifts. Arms production didn't slow, it standardized. Ammunition output increased year over year. Drone production scaled with help from Iranian designs and domestic manufacturing. This isn't speculation. Western defense ministries and open source analysts have tracked production lines, procurement contracts, and output figures. The conclusion is consistent. Russia is producing more shells now than most European countries combined. Meanwhile, Ukraine is exhausted. That's not a moral judgment, it's arithmetic.
We have a CNN exclusive which could raise alarms about the future on the front lines of Ukraine. CNN has learned that Russia is making nearly 3 times as many artillery rounds than what the U.S. and Europe combined are producing for Ukraine.
Population matters in prolonged war, and Ukraine started with less of it. Mobilization has become politically painful. The average age of soldiers has risen. Western aid still flows, but slower, more conditional, more debated. Talk of rapid counteroffensives has faded. Talk of retaking Crimea has largely disappeared from serious planning documents. That doesn't mean Ukraine is losing tomorrow. It means the war entered a phase where time favors the side with depth, not momentum. Now zoom out. Belarus has become something very different from what it was 5 years ago. It is no longer just a neighboring state aligned with Moscow. It is integrated into Russian military planning. Russian forces train there. Russian aircraft operate there. Russian nuclear weapons are hosted there. Air defense systems are linked. Logistics corridors are prepared. That much is public and acknowledged. What is not public is scale. Some analysts, politicians, and defense insiders have spoken about very large Russian force groupings that could be generated west of Russia if needed. Numbers circulate. They are dramatic. They are not publicly confirmed, and that distinction matters. We don't need to treat those numbers as fact to understand the risk they represent. Here's the key point. Russia has already demonstrated the ability to mobilize and sustain hundreds of thousands of troops across multiple theaters. It has done so while under sanctions, while fighting an active war, and while maintaining internal stability. Whether those troops are sitting in one place today is less important than the fact that they can be concentrated faster than Europe can respond. This is where silence becomes interesting. NATO does not announce worst-case scenarios to the public unless it has to. Historically, it avoids panic. Before Crimea in 2014, warnings were muted. Before February 2022, reassurances were louder than alarms. That wasn't incompetence, it was political risk management. Markets panic, elections react, escalation spirals. So when NATO officials now talk openly about future danger windows,
condemn this barbaric attack and the cynical arguments to justify it.
This hideous and barbaric venture of Vladimir Putin must end in failure.
Putin chose this war, and now he and his country will bear the consequences.
when Baltic states publicly warn that they could be overrun in days or even hours, that is not accidental. Defense planning works backward from threat assessment. If the messaging changed, something upstream changed first. This doesn't mean NATO is hiding a secret invasion plan from the public. It means internal assessments are more pessimistic than public messaging used to be. That gap is where uncertainty lives. Now, let's talk about capability, because intent without capability is noise, and capability without intent is insurance. Russia today has one of the largest standing armies in the world. It has combat experience at scale. Its officer corps has adapted brutally through failure. Its doctrine emphasizes mass, firepower, and endurance. It accepts casualties at levels Western societies would find politically impossible. That's not praise, that's reality. European militaries, by contrast, were designed for peace dividends. Stockpiles were trimmed. Conscription ended in many countries. Heavy industry was outsourced. War became something you studied, not something you prepared for. That made sense in 2005. It makes much less sense now. Small NATO countries on Russia's border understand this better than anyone. Geography is not their friend. They do not have strategic depth. They do not have time. If deterrence fails, reinforcement schedules matter more than statements of solidarity. That's why their leaders speak bluntly. When you live next to a bear, you don't argue about whether it's hungry. You reinforce the fence and hope the bear notices. Now let's address the uncomfortable question. If this risk has been growing, why wasn't the public told sooner? Now let's address the uncomfortable question. If this risk has been growing, why wasn't the public told sooner? Because governments rarely tell populations about danger until they also have a solution. Warning without preparation creates fear, not resilience. And because until recently the assumption was that Ukraine would decisively weaken Russia's ability to threaten anyone else, that assumption is no longer taken for granted. Russia didn't win quickly. It also didn't lose catastrophically. Instead, it learned. It reorganized. It aligned its economy with its military goals. It built partnerships that don't look impressive on paper, but matter in practice. Iranian drones changed battlefield economics. North Korean ammunition extended endurance. Chinese technology filled gaps without headlines. None of this means Europe is doomed. It means the strategic environment hardened. And now we get to the part nobody likes talking about: strategic ambiguity. Russia benefits from uncertainty. It benefits when adversaries argue about numbers, intentions, and timelines. It benefits when the public debates whether warnings are alarmist or prudent. You don't need to cross a border to influence decisions. You just need to make everyone unsure enough to hesitate. If there were a large Russian force capable of rapid movement westward, ambiguity would be a feature, not a flaw. You wouldn't announce it, you wouldn't confirm it, you would let the possibility do the work. Deterrence cuts both ways. So here is the honest position. We do not know the exact scale of Russian forces positioned near NATO borders at any given moment. Those details are classified for a reason, but we do know that Russia can generate such forces. We know Belarus provides access. We know NATO rhetoric has shifted. We know frontline states are nervous, and we know history punishes complacency far more often than caution. This is where opinion comes in. Europe spent 30 years assuming war was a historical chapter, not a future risk. Russia never made that assumption. One side treated security as a budget line, the other treated it as identity. When those two approaches collide, the one that planned for sacrifice usually holds the advantage. There's also a timing issue nobody likes. The United States is increasingly focused elsewhere. Indo-Pacific commitments are growing. Domestic politics are unpredictable. Europe talks about strategic autonomy because it may not have a choice. Deterrence works best when it's unquestioned. Right now, too many actors are testing where the questions start. That doesn't mean an attack is inevitable. It means the cost of being wrong is rising. And yes, there is an irony here. Europe is wealthier than Russia, more technologically advanced, more populous as a bloc. But wealth doesn't automatically convert into readiness. You can't 3D print artillery shells fast enough once a war starts. You can't legislate combat units into existence on a deadline. Militaries are built in peace or paid for in blood. Europe spent decades arguing about the curvature of bananas. Turns out tanks don't care. The uncomfortable truth is that Russia doesn't need to conquer Europe to achieve its objectives. It only needs to convince Europe that defending itself is too expensive, too risky, too divisive. Fear can be a weapon without firing a shot, and uncertainty is fear's favorite delivery system. So when people ask, is Russia planning something big? The most honest answer is this. Russia is preparing for options. That's what serious powers do. Whether those options are used depends on deterrence, cohesion, and resolve. The real danger is not a secret army hiding in the forests. The real danger is assuming that because something hasn't happened yet, it won't. History is full of people who were technically correct right up until the moment they weren't. One more joke because we need it. If peace were guaranteed by confidence alone, Europe would be invincible. Unfortunately, artillery prefers logistics. This isn't a call for panic, it's a call for clarity. Governments can't protect their citizens by pretending uncertainty doesn't exist, and citizens can't demand security while rejecting the cost of providing it. The window everyone is whispering about, 2026, 2027, is not a prophecy, it's a planning horizon. It's when current production curves, training cycles, and political timelines intersect. It's when ambiguity either hardens into deterrence or dissolves into temptation. If nothing happens, good. That means preparation worked. If something does happen, the worst words imaginable will be, "We didn't think it would." So no, this is not proof of an imminent invasion. It's something more uncomfortable. It's a reminder that peace is not the default setting of history. It has to be maintained, paid for, and defended long before it's tested. And the silence you're hearing is not necessarily a lie. Sometimes it's the sound of institutions realizing that reassurance has an expiration date. Deterrence is like insurance. Everyone hates paying for it, and everyone is furious when they realize they needed it too late. The question Europe faces is not whether Russia is 10 feet tall. It isn't. The question is whether Europe is willing to stop acting like the world stopped being dangerous just because it wanted to believe that. Because uncertainty is already here, and ignoring it has never made anyone safer.